Yeah, we fucked up already. Cool. Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of HardFoul Radio. This is the show that values time and puts God first. Appreciate y'all for tuning in today. So we gotta start here, in my opinion. A little bit of a non-sports topic, but something that I think is still really important to talk about. FS1 yesterday cancels 3 shows, both their morning shows, as well as Speak in the afternoon. And listen, this to me, while I'm never going to sit there and celebrate people losing their jobs, or I'm never going to celebrate people not succeeding as much as they should, this is the reality of where sports media is at, and entertainment, and just how much it costs to put on a show. Listen, the internet has made it accessible for any idiot to go out there and give his opinion on anything he wants to. I'm an idiot. It's very low overhead. You buy a camera, you buy a microphone, you figure it out, you get some free editing software, YouTube is free, boom, there you go. To have these shows, like a Speak, their morning shows, it was the Craig Carton show, which turned into Breakfast Ball. They had, originally obviously had Undisputed, then turned into the show with Emmanuel Acho. I'm blanking on the name, forgive me, but all of them are gone. You have to pay people for all of these shows. You have to pay the on-air talent. You have to pay the people that are behind the cameras. You have to pay the people that are editing. These are very, very expensive productions, and they only work if you are able to, simplest thing in business, make more than you lose. And the problem is, what are you doing that's special? This is the fans reacting to people who either give hot takes, lazy takes, or in the case of FS1, at one point had Richard Sherman comparing. This is how crazy it was. They had Richard Sherman talking about basketball and comparing Christian Wood, because his career stats or his stats from the previous season were 18-8, and comparing him to Pau Gasol, who is a Hall of Fame basketball player and one of the best international players of all time. I can go to a million different YouTube channels and get lazy takes or uninteresting opinions. Doesn't take much. But now, if I'm a studio, I'm a company, and I'm trying to make this work, and now I'm paying these people to do the same thing that any idiot with a camera and a microphone can do, and my overhead is way higher. And here's the other problem. Since cable television is so much less than what it used to be, this is ESPN's problem that started over a decade ago. You're not getting the same kind of revenue from your TV deals if you're ESPN or FS1. Right? It sounds weird because in sports, there's so much TV money going in right now. The Yankees, or the Dodgers, better example. The Dodgers, look how much TV money they're getting because people are going to their TV and it's part of their streaming deal to go watch the Los Angeles Dodgers. So they have an almost $1 billion, I think it is over $1 billion TV deal. Companies aren't making that much money from TV the way they used to. So they have to make the money the same way that the rest of us idiots do. On your YouTube, on your subscription platforms, being interesting online, your social media, that's how you have to earn your money. And if you're not generating these several 100,000 views, if you're not generating the 1 million+ subscribers, I might not, the guy that we all give the most shit to online is Nick Wright, and First Things First, that's arguably their most successful show. That show does numbers that are comparable to Colin, who's obviously the ace of that network. And we all sit there and clown him and give him shit, but that show's doing amazing. That show's putting up numbers, and that show does well online. It does well on podcasts. It does well on downloads. So love him or hate him, you can't take away the credibility of that show doing numbers. And then you go look at comparatively what all the other shows are doing. When these shows, I could put up a video, and if that video does under 100 views, I have a really low overhead. It's not gonna make or break me. Some of these shows, they were putting out videos and it was doing 100 views, 500 views. They had, and there's a little bit of tone deaf on FS1 and the producers and the creative people over there. They had Keyshawn Johnson and Paul Pierce, go find the video, talking to a NASCAR driver. I don't want to be disrespectful to Paul Pierce. I don't want to be disrespectful to Keyshawn Johnson. I don't want to be disrespectful to the NASCAR driver. That's not really my world. But who in their right mind is waking up and going, you know what I want to see? I want to see Keyshawn Johnson and Paul Pierce talking to a NASCAR driver. That video, I shit you not, I think when I last saw it, or I saw it the day it dropped, but I saw it like 10 hours after it came out, I think it was literally under 100 views. Do you know how down bad you are as a major company in Fox and an child company in Fox Sports to drop a video that has 100 views? Do you know how bad that is? Because you're not telling them, hey, you get less of a paycheck because you have less views. You still got to pay these people. And fans aren't stupid. Fans are not stupid. They're not watching this crap that you guys put out. And it has finally taken years. And I always say, Skip established this. Stephen A, I think, is taking this to an even higher level. But those guys, at the point they really did it, they were too big to fail. They had already accumulated these massive audiences. They had already accumulated so many people watching them that, yeah, you might have thought it was dumb or bad for sports or whatever your opinion on them may have been, but it wasn't going to stop them from doing the numbers they were doing. First Take with Skip or with Stephen A, still a number one show in the morning. Like, they were too big by the time they went this, what I consider, degenerate route. And because it's the internet, and you can't double check anyone, and there's no real, like, I don't have credentials to bring to you that says I know more about sports than you. I just do my best to be informative and educating and entertaining because that's what I grew up on. OG ESPN was people and these analysts who could not only talk about the sports, but you could walk away from the sport feeling like you were smarter than when you first started watching it. They didn't have to give you just hot takes to stay relevant. They could be informative. They could tell you, hey, this is how I saw the game. These are what I've seen, and I got 30 plus years of watching this, and I could give you this educated, well thought out, well articulated opinion. You guys know me if you listen to me any amount of time. Stuart Scott, I think, is the greatest to ever do this. And he could do that. Him and Chris Berman, they would show you a highlight, say something clever, and then they could reference, baseball. This is the first time, catcher does something great. Cal Raleigh, for example. They could take that, and Chris Berman could bring out a memory of Johnny Bench and the Big Red Machine. They were informative at the same time being entertaining. They didn't need to just be a hot take show. Mike and Mike in the Morning, for years, they could give you an opinion, they could analyze, they could reference. You could walk away from that being smarter than you were. A lot of these shows you can't do this with. So the fans are pushing back. They're not watching what you put out there. There's too much stuff. People are too distracted. There's too much content, even in just a particular space, such as sports media. Fans got better shit to do than watch your crappy show. So, again, I'm not rooting for anyone to lose their job. I'm not rooting for anyone to do bad. I'm not rooting for anyone to not be able to have an income to help feed their families, all that stuff. But this is a reaction to the fans going, we don't like this crap. Be better. Moving on from there. So, this is an opinion I've had for a while, and we're going to have Tony on later in the show, and he's going to argue with me and tell me I'm an idiot, and that's okay. That's my man. In the NFL, we've basically become accustomed to these last couple of years. There's a big four quarterbacks. There's obviously Patrick Mahomes, there is Josh Allen, there's Lamar Jackson, and there's Joe Burrow. And there's been this consensus that even if you really love your quarterback, Eagles fans who love Jalen Hurts, Commander fans who love Jaden Daniels now after his rookie season, or Bronco fans like myself who went through so much bad quarterback play, yeah, we're probably all overhyping Bo Nix a little bit, but can you blame us? We went through quarterback hell for a decade. But those four have been consistently seen above the rest. And I want to give a little pushback. Now, I put out my top 5 list a few months ago, and I personally have Matthew Stafford at 4 versus Joe Burrow at 5. So everybody already knows my opinion on this. But even if you think I'm being crazy, that's Joe Burrow was clearly better than Matthew Stafford. What is wrong with you? That's a horrible take. That's a horrible opinion. Even if you think that, why are we still putting Joe Burrow with the other guys? Hear me out. And I know he just had this amazing statistical season. They broke all these records. They were a high-flying offense, all that. And he hasn't made the playoffs for 2 consecutive years. Ask yourself, which of the other guys can you realistically see them not make the playoffs 2 consecutive years in their prime? Don't go back to, for Mahomes' case, he's never not made the playoffs. He's been in the playoffs every single year as a starter. Okay, well, that's not fair. Mahomes has had the greatest 7-year stretch to start an NFL career in the history of pro football. Okay, cool. Josh Allen. Once he became Josh Allen, you are guaranteed to make the playoffs. Lamar Jackson. Even when Lamar finished a year hurt and they had to start Tyler Huntley in the playoff game, Lamar Jackson, being your quarterback, guaranteed you a spot in the playoffs. Joe Burrow, for all of his stats, for all of his incredible throws, for all of his great individual games, why does Joe Burrow, who, again, I'm someone to be very transparent here, be very clear, I want to be honest. When he made the Super Bowl with Cincinnati, I said at the time, that is a greater accomplishment than what Mahomes had done to that point. Because the Chiefs were stable. The Chiefs had Andy Reid. The Chiefs had Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. They had these other things that were like, okay, Mahomes obviously elevated them and took them to a brand new place. But Burrow getting there with Cincinnati, a true tragic franchise, I was like, that's amazing. That's amazing. And they had a chance to win that Super Bowl. If OBJ doesn't go crazy in that first quarter before getting injured, who knows? Maybe they do. But since then, Joe Burrow's got the great win in Buffalo and then back-to-back seasons not making the playoffs. Nobody was hurt the 1 year. Okay. Again, I just told you, Lamar got hurt 1 year, did not finish the season, and did not come back. And that was before he had the contract, and so I don't blame him for not coming back. But he still was so great in the time he was there, he got the Ravens to the playoffs. So, and again, I'm not saying Joe can't be great. I'm not saying that he can't be the fourth best quarterback in football. But don't we have to separate him from the other guys? Kevin Garnett in the NBA, during his true prime, not with the Celtics. He was still great with the Celtics, but he was not. The KG that was with the Timberwolves is an MVP. He was not winning in the playoffs. And that's what separated him drastically from Tim Duncan, who was winning championships, Shaq, Kobe, who were winning championships. It's what made him, his comparison in the early part of his career was him and Dirk. Because they would have these great regular seasons, and we didn't see it in the playoffs. But they were at least a little bit different, NBA versus NFL. They were making the playoffs at least. But his lack of playoff success, well, I don't think it is this all-time defining thing for a lot of guys. It does matter, especially when you're comparing the greats of the greats. If you are an all-time quarterback, you should be worth the playoff. Like, you should be a playoff team. And the one comparison that always gets thrown out with Joe Burrow is Drew Brees. But Drew had already gotten to a Super Bowl. This is why I think it's different. Drew had already got to a Super Bowl in his third year in New Orleans, fourth year. Yes, he got injured in San Diego, got traded to New Orleans. They win that Super Bowl. And even though they had these struggles because they had, similar to Joe Burrow, these horrible defenses in the middle part of his career, he had already gotten you the ring. And once you win a title, yes, you do have different rules. Mahomes never needs to win another title. Never needs to win another Super Bowl. He is so far and away a made man, it does not matter. So he does not need to win a Super Bowl again. Joe Burrow doesn't have that. And when you're putting up the accolades of Lamar, who's a multiple-time MVP, a unanimous MVP award winner, Josh Allen, our reigning MVP in the NFL, and Mahomes, who's got more accolades than all of them combined. I've been seeing this a lot. Why is Joe Burrow not in the same conversation as Jalen Hurts? And Jalen Hurts has a ring. Now, we all think objectively, if you just go side by side, you just watch them play. I think most people would tell you Burrow's better than Hurts. But Hurts now has a Super Bowl. That needs to matter. So when we look at NFL quarterbacks, we've been looking at them through this top 4 lens. Can we shrink it a little bit and go down to this top 3? Because that's the way I'm viewing the game right now. And it is a Monday or Tuesday. I'm all off. It is a Tuesday. So much more to go over, including we have Tony stopping by at the top of the hour. Excited for that. Lot to talk about here, man. This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. I mean, if you want to be a part of one of the coolest and most unique communities, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. So, also got their moments. So that's what Kayla needs to do next. Can we get more eyes on the other people as well? Because the other person who's in that conversation who's been kind of attached to her, y'all been real quiet since she started hooping. She starts putting up these almost 2020 games. Suddenly we don't want to talk about the WNBA anymore. I see y'all.